Good afternoon, 5:01 here at WDBO. Our top story, the U.S. has announced it's joining allies to prevent more Yemen rebel attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea. ABC's Andy Field tells us about the new international partners.
Nearly 50 merchant ships travel the Red Sea near Yemen each day. And now that country's rebels are firing rockets at them.
The Houthis' reckless attacks on commercial shipping in the Red Sea threaten the free flow of commerce.
State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller saying it's why the U.S. has joined 9 other nations, including the U.K., Canada, France, Spain, and Italy, to prevent and stop those attacks. Andy Field, ABC News.
Documents that name many of Jeffrey Epstein's associates are going to be unsealed early next year.
A federal judge in New York ordered the court documents to be made public. They're part of a settled civil lawsuit that claims Ghislaine Maxwell assisted in the sexual abuse of Virginia Giuffre. Maxwell, once Epstein's lover, is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Owners of vehicles made by General Motors have a direct line to track and speak with Santa, and it's all for a good cause. OnStar product marketing manager Brian Steele says those that wish to talk to Santa can track his movements this holiday can do so by pushing that blue OnStar button in any GM vehicle.
You can make sure that you're on the nice list, share anything on your wish list for Christmas, and if you want Santa, we'll even end the phone call with the night before Christmas, reading that story for you and the kids.
Yeah, you can also use the OnStar Guardian app on your phone, and each time you check in with Santa, $1 gets donated to the American Red Cross, up to $25,000. He says you don't have to pay for OnStar to be connected with the North Pole. 5:02 here at WDBO.
You just have to give Joe a minute. He had to fix his camera.
Greg, can you do a quick check on me on Q? Test 1 2 3 4. Check. Check 1 2 1 2. Okay, thanks.
On a Saturday, it starts to feel more humid, and we can't rule out a sprinkle Saturday, and there's a slight chance for rain Sunday, which is Christmas Eve, mid-70s, again, feeling more humid. The highest rain chance will be Sunday night, Christmas Eve into Monday, Christmas Day, with scattered rain possible. Doesn't look like a washout in 76 degrees. From Channel 9 Eyewitness News, I'm meteorologist George Waldenberger.
Now, from the Bogan Munz & Munz WDBO Traffic Center. Auto accident? Choose Bogan Munz & Munz.
Well, at the moment, we have a lot of brake lights, but we don't have a lot of crashes, which is a good... Did I just jinx it? Okay, well, maybe I did. Maybe I didn't, though. We're looking at some brake lights into downtown I-4 westbound between Princeton and the 408 and Sand Lake to 535. And from 192 down through Champions Gate, eastbound locked up past the Disney exits and tap the brakes of the turnpike and into downtown from 408 to Amelia. Download the WDBO app and get instant traffic notifications on your phone whenever there's a red alert in the area. WDBO, keeping you safe and informed. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
Local news, national news, even feel-good news, delivering the topics that are relevant to you.
That's why I listen to Joe. He covers it all.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
All right. I'm not even kidding about this. So I had a manager come to me today and say, Joe, were you looking at gay porn on a work computer? And I'm like, no, I wouldn't. What? Oh, wait. Yes. Yes, but no, I would, yes, kind of, yes. Dang it, Democrats. Now I'm in trouble because I was researching this story yesterday. We'll have an update on the gay pornography that was shot in the United States Senate Judiciary Committee hearing room. We'll have an update on that for you coming up a little bit later. We do have more information on that. And it's at the bottom of my stack. It's not at the top of the stack. It's not my highest priority today, but it is in the big old stack of stuff, as they like to say. But Laurel, I want to start with you. I want to talk about a couple of dog-related issues.
Oh, good, because I was like, you're going to make me follow gay porn? I'm not sure
No.
Digging that.
No, that's what I'm saying. We'll put a pin in the gay porn for now. And just weird that we're even talking about that. And again, we can thank the Democrat lawmakers for the fact that we have to have a discussion about gay pornography. But I want to talk about dogs too. There's two stories. One of which, in fact, both of which you'll find right now in the WDBO app. One of which is absolutely appalling, and the other is interesting. Two completely different Florida stories, two completely different Florida dog stories. But one of them is out of Lee County in Lehigh Acres. Now, I don't know if you know where Lehigh Acres is. It's down in southwest Florida. It's down closer to the Everglades on the Gulf Coast side of the state. But a dude in a Kia SUV or whatever pulls up to a garbage dumpster behind a Dollar General store and throws a garbage bag into the dumpster. All right, so far so good, right? No big deal. We've all pulled up somewhere to a dumpster that wasn't ours and tried to throw away some trash. Well, the employees at the Family Dollar store had a video camera in the back, and they saw this happen. And they thought, well, that was odd that this guy just pulls up, throws one bag into the dumpster, and then drives away. So these now heroic employees of the Family Dollar store went out to the dumpster, pulled out the trash bag, and found that there was a dog inside the trash bag. A live dog inside a plastic garbage bag that a man callously threw into the dumpster. Now, the story truly gets worse from there. And let me fast forward. First of all, let me tell you that the dog is okay. Okay, the dog is alive, and the dog is as healthy as one would hope. The dog is 16 years old. What is the average life expectancy for a dog these days? Laurel, you're a chief canine correspondent.
17, 18.
Really? I'm going to have a dog for that many more years?
Yeah. Particularly your little dog, they last longer.
No! I'm just kidding. I love Arwen. Arwen is a great little dog. Arwen loved seeing you the other day.
I love him. He is the happiest little fluff ball.
He is. He's a great dog. If he's listening right now, hello, Arwen. Hey, little buddy. Come here, Arwen. Come here, Arwen. He always greets me the second I walk in the door, and he'll find whatever toy is laying around. It's like, Dad, look at this toy. Look at this toy. And he just brings it up to me, and he gets so excited. Whereas Kitty George is just like, meh, whatever. He's home again. So anyhow, so this 16-year-old dog hardly has any teeth, has impaired vision, but is otherwise in great health for a 16-year-old dog. But the reason that this guy came into possession of this dog is because the dog's owners had died. The circumstances of the dog's owners dying are not clear. The dog, by the way, is a 16-year-old Shih Tzu. And the employees of the Family Dollar took the dog to the Blue Pearl Pet Hospital for evaluation. They found that the dog was microchipped. The dog's name is Zyla. And they found via the microchip that the dog's owners had died. The suspect, the man who threw the dog into the garbage, is a relative of the dog's owners. So here's a guy cleaning out their house. And, you're throwing away some garbage in the house, and you're keeping a few family heirlooms and keepsakes. You're maybe keeping some of the furniture, but then you find the 16-year-old Shih Tzu. And this guy bags it up, drives it off to a dumpster somewhere, and throws it in. Thank goodness it was caught on video. Thank goodness that the Lee County Sheriff's Office ain't playing when it comes to animal abuse. And thank goodness that this guy has now been arrested and charged with felony aggravated animal cruelty. And the dog will soon be up for adoption through the Lee County Domestic Animal Services.
You know what, Joe? There are three different things that it's just intolerable. There's animals, kids, and the elderly.
Yeah.
Those are three things that you don't even have an excuse for.
No.
It's just lock him up.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you want to see this creep's mugshot, we've got picture. I'll tell you the heartbreakingest picture you're going to see today. And I can only imagine that maybe someone from Family Dollar or whatever, but the Lee County Sheriff's Office posted this on their Facebook page. But as they pulled the garbage bag out of the dumpster, someone ripped open the bag. I'm sure they felt or saw that the inside of the bag was moving. Could you imagine that their first thought had to have been it was a child, a baby? I mean, that would have been my first thought, was someone just threw a baby in the garbage. But someone took a picture with the bag barely torn open with this, it's cute, with this cute, filthy little Shih Tzu sticking his head out of a black garbage bag. And then there's a subsequent picture of the dog at the groomers getting cleaned up and being well taken care of. And obviously it's being taken care of well now. There is a mugshot. I mean, the prosecutor there, check that. That's the sheriff there, held a 50-minute news conference today on this incident. That's how serious they're taking this. A 50-minute news conference on this guy throwing away a 16-year-old dog.
I'm telling you, dogs are animals, elderly, kids. There's going to be a 50-minute press conference on either one of those at any given time.
Yeah, absolutely. So as there should be. And I don't know what the penalties are for animal cruelty of that sort, of felony aggravated animal cruelty. But I hope it's able to put him behind bars for a while, because anybody who would treat a dog like that, anybody who would be so callous. Now, hang on. I always try to see things from the other side. Now, there is no other side to putting a dog in a garbage bag and throwing it away. But I wonder if the man was in such grief from losing whoever it was that died in the house that he just wasn't thinking straight. No, I'm trying that out in my head and it just doesn't fly. It just doesn't fly. I mean, at the very least, you just open the door and let the dog out. Just let the dog go. I mean, that
Joe,
would be.
you're a biblical man.
I
You're a
try.
It's what you do when you think no one is watching.
Yeah.
That is your character.
You're right.
He didn't think anybody saw him do that.
Yep.
You know, when you get these people
Yeah.
abusing children and adults and things like that on hidden cameras, they don't think anybody's watching. That's how you judge character.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Character is what you do when you think nobody else is watching. And he didn't even place the dog gently in the dumpster. He tosses the garbage bag from 10 feet away. You can see in the picture, the still, if you just open up the WDBO app, it's the first thing you'll see there. And you'll see the picture of him tossing the bag into the dumpster. And there's video of it as well. Thankfully, again, it's all caught on video. You know, that's the good and the bad of having video cameras everywhere. Surveillance, we are a surveilled society these days. Everywhere we go, we're under, constant surveillance. But in situations like this, good, because it catches scumbags like this and it charges him appropriately.
Yep. And they're
going to show intent. They're going to show intent because he went somewhere else to do the thing. He didn't just do it right in front. He actually planned it out. He went and took it away from there,
drove
thinking
behind,
no one's going to see it.
Behind a shopping center.
So he had intent to do something bad.
And from what I'm seeing, it's a third-degree felony, which can get you up to 5 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. So
I'd be willing to bet he won't go to jail, but I would bet he'll get probation and a fine on that. And hopefully they won't sentence him to something like you have to work at the dog pound for 6 months, because that's exactly where he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be with other animals. Frankly, this guy shouldn't be with other humans. I mean, I wouldn't trust this guy with a potted plant, much less a dog or another human. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can hit us up in the open mic in the WDBO app. Coming up next, now I did tell you we're going to talk about two different dog issues. So that was dog issue number 1. Dog issue number 2 will be coming up next, right after the headlines that you missed while you're at work today. That's coming up next right here on the Joe Kelley Show.
Now, from the Bogan Munz and Munz WDBO Traffic Center. Auto accident? Choose Bogan Munz and Munz.
Well, let's start out this one on the 417 southbound. You got a crash at Colonial, and a left lane is currently blocked. You got brake lights still into downtown. This is a normal thing on I-4 westbound between Princeton and the 408 eastbound. Then it continues past the 408 through downtown, and you're on the brakes all the way through OBT at this point. Then Sand Lake to 535, and from Osceola Parkway all the way into and through Champions Gate. This report sponsored by coveringflorida.org. Need health insurance? Unsure where to start? A navigator may be able to help. The service is confidential and free. Visit online at coveringflorida.org. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
The Powerball jackpot is now at $572 million ahead of tomorrow's drawing. The total climbed after there was no winning tickets in last night's lottery. If someone wins Wednesday's drawing, they would either take a $286 million lump sum or get yearly payments.
Two.
Icelandic authorities are asking people to stay away from an erupting volcano. The eruption sent lava jets hundreds of feet into the air and lit up the sky in the southwestern part of the country Monday night. A nearby resort was forced to shut down because of the eruption.
One.
Crews are still working to restore power for hundreds of thousands of customers across New England. The region was battered with high winds and a deluge of rain Monday night, knocking down trees and power lines and killing at least 4 people. Flooding remains a concern today as transit systems face numerous delays and cancellations.
And if you didn't want the dog, just bring it to the shelter. Bring it to a shelter. There are openings in the shelter in Orange County right now. There's no reason to not. Or, unfortunately, bring them to the pound. So that way they can properly take care of them and euthanize them if needed be, instead of throwing the dog into a trash can. What kind of horrible person just,
I'm telling you, Greg, I have to keep from jumping through my computer screen when I see those hidden videos of people abusing, children and even the elderly in old folks' homes or hospitals or whatever you want to call it. I mean, when they do that kind of stuff, I just want to reach through there and strangle them.
Right.
I don't know if anybody's ever tried to get their dog to go into a crate, but normally they fight you. So imagine, he had to just, step one is to force a struggling dog into a bag.
Right.
Close the bag, throw it in the back of his truck. I'm sure the dog was crying. He ignored it the whole way. That was multiple heartless steps.
Again, a lot of decisions made, a lot of opportunities to not do what you did. That's like having a gun, getting the gun out, loading the gun, making sure there's a bullet in the chamber, firing it off, and then going, I had no intention.
Right.
Give me a break.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope they put him away for a long time. Unfortunately, I'm frustrated with the justice system when it comes to animal cruelty because they tend to get a slap on the wrist and they're going right back out.
Right.
My husband knows.
Yeah. They have to have a mental exam too to make sure that he is stable enough to go through that. Whom the heck knows?
Right. Well, my husband knows if Michael Vick comes on the TV to shut it off because Laurel does not watch Michael Vick. And I am infuriated that the sports community has welcomed him back because apparently they have no idea the levels of cruelty that man did to dogs and didn't give a flying baboon about it. He didn't care. Right. And he's welcomed back. He should have at least been shunned from his career. But they're like, no, Eli and Peyton just had him on the other day. And I'm like, you know what?
Yep.
Shame on you all. So, yeah. You want to get me angry? There's a good way to do it.
If you can communicate, well, never mind. I think he already knows. I'm just thinking about Joe. Don't worry, because he can't hear me.
Okay.
I think I was going to tell him that Jim Ladd, who was a classic disc jockey from forever ago, passed away, but I think it's on the WDBO site. So I think he already knows.
So did Arwen really get worked up? I'm curious. Was he really listening? Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Thank you so much for joining us here on the Joe Kelley Show. And we do this every single afternoon at this time, if you're just joining us.
From your office to ours, we're breaking down today's big stories. Here's what you missed while you were at work.
Israel's president, not to be confused with Israel's prime minister. The prime minister is Benjamin Netanyahu. The president is Herzog. And Herzog signals now a readiness for a second truce with Hamas to free more hostages. A federal judge in New York orders a vast unsealing of court documents in early 2024 that will make public the names of scores of Jeffrey Epstein's associates. I know a lot of people are very excited about that, and a lot of people have ideas of who they think is going to be on that list, including Bill Gates and Bill Clinton, potentially Donald Trump, and many, many others. I would be willing to bet that there are very powerful people whose names are on that list and who are powerful enough to keep that list from going public. I will believe it when I see it. If that list makes its way actually into the public domain. Also, President Biden eulogizes. Is it wrong that every time I say the word eulogy, I think of Zoolander, and I have to be careful not to mispronounce it? Eulogigi. President Biden eulogizes former Justice Sandra Day O'Connor at her funeral, hailing how she empowered generations of women and proved that a woman can not only do anything that a man can do, but many times do it a heck of a lot better. That, according to Joe Biden, those were his words. Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, signs a bill that'll create the second statewide task force in the U.S. to examine reparations for descendants of slavery. Second to, anyone know? Second to what state? Anyone know? Anyone? California. California was the first state to sign such a bill, and now the state of New York. So New York and California, the two bluest of blue states, the two most liberal of liberal states, will have a statewide task force to examine reparations for descendants of slavery. And kind of like California, California wasn't at the epicenter of the Civil War. New York really was not the epicenter of where slaves were being held. So it'll be interesting to see. And that this regrettably, and as you guys know, slavery was America's original sin. That was our problem nationwide. And I don't know how these state by state organizations think they're going to sort out and make this right. If it is possible to make it right, it has to be done on a federal level. It cannot be done piecemeal, state by state. Speaking about states, in Texas, El Paso County and two immigrant rights groups have now sued Texas officials over the new law that the governor there just signed that allows local and state cops to arrest migrants, saying that it violates the U.S. Constitution. That didn't take long for those lawsuits to begin there in the state of Texas. All right, Laurel, back to you. So we got this other dog story, and this is the dog story that I saw that you, had posted today at WDBO.com. Do you want to tell us about the Dangerous Dog Registry?
Yeah, I'll tell you about the Dangerous Dog Registry. So this is a new bill that they're trying to push through in response to a dog attack that happened in Putnam County last year.
Terrible thing, by the way.
It was incredibly sad. There was a 61-year-old postal worker who was attacked and killed by a pack of dogs while she was delivering mail. And like I said, she died. And so in response to that, they're trying to file legislation that would require dogs to be confiscated if there's a dog attack, or what they call a dangerous dog investigation. And if the dog is determined to be dangerous, owners would have to keep their dog securely confined behind a locked fence while outdoors or inside their home. And they also have to buy liability insurance. And they would have to get on something called a dangerous dog registry so that members of the public could search and identify where dangerous dogs live in the area.
That would be that sounds like a sex offender registry. It sounds like the same thing. So it operate in essence like a sex offender registry, but for dangerous dogs.
And I can understand where this is, and I'm not necessarily against it.
Yeah.
But my thing is, if we're going to do that, then let's also do an animal abuser registry. Okay, let's do both sides of the aisle here. Where are the dangerous humans to animals, and where are the dangerous animals to humans?
Well, I never thought about that, Laurel. This is why we have you to think about, to see our blind spots on issues. And I didn't even think about that. So to tie these two stories together, the scumbag who put the dog in the plastic garbage bag and chucked it into the dumpster down in Southwest Florida yesterday, he would then be on the animal abuser registry if such a registry existed.
Yes, one would hope and wish, and that would make a lot of sense to me.
So we would know if we had pets and we live near this guy to keep our pets away from that guy because he's dangerous to pets, and pets would be, certain pets would be dangerous to humans. I tell you, I like the animal registry much better than breed-specific bans.
Exactly.
I do not like breed-specific bans because I think they paint with too broad of a brush, and regrettably, more times than not, they're pit bulls, and pit bulls are some of the most affectionate dogs in the world. I love pit bulls, so I hate when I see them on dangerous dog lists. You can join us at 844-580-WDBO or use the open mic in the WDBO app.
Good afternoon, 531 here at WDBO. Our top story, a new international task force led by the U.S. will defend commercial cargo ships from Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in the Red Sea.
Ships and aircraft from multiple nations are and will continue to join the United States in conducting maritime surveillance and taking defensive action as appropriate to protect commercial ships from the threat posed by the Houthis.
National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said recent attacks on merchant ships are unacceptable and must stop. The initiative includes several countries, including the UK, Canada, France, Bahrain, and others. The Houthis have been targeting commercial vessels in protest over the Israel-Gaza war, disrupting one of the world's busiest shipping routes. The group today vowed to continue its military operations. Well, airlines are prepping for another potentially record-breaking travel season. Transportation officials say cancellations are at their lowest point in 5 years, but a new consumer watchdog report reveals passenger complaints are still sky high. Reporter Kirsten Garris is at Reagan National Airport with the top concerns for travelers.
A new report from the U.S. Public Interest Research Group shows 35% of airline complaints this year were about flight problems. This includes delays and missed connections. Consumer watchdog Teresa Murray says refunds are another major concern.
And a lot of the airlines have been dragging their feet in issuing those refunds.
The U.S. Department of Transportation says it is holding airlines accountable for these issues. In Washington, Kirsten Garris, WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580.
532 here at WDBO. Oh, thank you, Sean. Oh, Karen, I bet you do. You know, I, as many of you know, I worked at an animal shelter for a while. And there was this dog came in and he was the most affectionate dog. Oh my gosh, he was loving on everybody. Love, love, love. To the point where I snapped a photo of him and threw him up on my Facebook and said, if somebody doesn't come get this dog right now, I am going to smuggle him into my house. Like I'm in love with this dog. So my neighbors and friends of mine who costume with me had recently lost their dog, and they saw him and they fell in love with him and they adopted him. And whenever they got him home, he was a beautiful, wonderful dog, but he became very protective of his home and his family, to the point where he had to be crated if company would come over because he'd get too wound up. It became dangerous for him, dangerous for another person. And I believe he did have one biting incident. But he was a great dog for them. I mean, they snuggled on the couch, they put him in sweaters. He was adorable. He just couldn't be around people. And so I can understand where really, really, really great dogs can have a biting incident. And it doesn't mean they're bad dogs, right? They're dogs. They're animals. People forget dogs are animals, right? You got to be careful with them. You just got to, even if they're the best in the world, you got to be careful with them. And so part of me is like, I don't know that I'd want that dog on a registry because he had one minor incident. It's not like he was like, all running around biting everybody all the time. So if I was in charge, it maybe be like a first time, no, second time you get on the registry thing. But again, it is better than what Joe said about that breed ban legislation nonsense that I think they just got rid of in Miami. They still have it going on in Detroit. The whole country of England just decided to ban extra large pit bulls, whatever the heck that means, and offered them owners like $200 to take their perfectly healthy, beautiful dogs, if they're XL pit bulls, to go have them put down in England. The government was paying people to put their dogs down. I'm like, that is the most backwards, stupid thing I've ever heard in my life, England. People don't understand. It's sad. Kush. That's so cute, Karen. His name's Kush. That's so cute. My sister has a little pit bull whose name is Puck, like a hockey puck. 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 And I'm like, that's a really dangerous name to be yelling in the middle of the park. But she still wanted to name him that. So, like, all right, girl, you do you.
Or teaching like your little ones on how to say their name.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get that P really hard.
A really hard P at the beginning of it.
Well, thank you, Sean, for your service. Because, yeah, I don't want any part of that. My husband loves visiting there. And even the temper tantrum part of me was like, I'm not visiting there. I'm mad at England. Oh, my gosh. He is big, Karen. I bet he does walk you. I love big doggos like that. I just don't like when they get really excited and they bonk their heads up to your chin and their big old bowling ball heads smack your chin.
That is my dog. He is 80 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What kind of dog is he, Greg?
He's a lab Shar-Pei mix.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Does
Yeah.
he have any rolls of the curled tail or?
He's got the curled tail and he has some rolls. Like if you go to like scratch him, he's got a lot more to him than a regular lab does. But he looks exactly like a lab.
That's super cute. Oh my gosh. That's true too, Marie. Maybe my sister's smarter than I thought she was. I don't know if she knows that. I'm going to have to ask her. I might have been underestimating my sister and her literacy. St. Bernard. Aw. I saw in Disney Springs, a Newfoundland the other day, Karen. I'm like, that's the biggest service dog I've ever seen. So cute.
Munz and Munz WDBO Traffic Center. Auto accident? Choose Bogan Munz and Munz.
Still got that crash 417 southbound at Colonial with the left lane blocked. And I just saw another incident pop up on my screen here. This looks like southbound on the 417 at 1792 in Sanford. You've got some lanes blocked there as well. Still busy as you make your way into Champions Gate, starting around Sand Lake to 535 and from Osceola Parkway through to US 27. This report sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples Stores provide innovative products and services for small business, remote workers and learners, even teachers and parents. Explore more at your local Staples store. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Breaking news to lively debates, covering the issues that matter to you.
I make it a point to listen to Joe Kelley when I need to fully understand what's happening in the news.
Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's news and talk, WDBO.
So if it is to be believed, within the next 2 weeks, we're going to see the list of names that have been associated, 177 names associated with Jeffrey Epstein. And I think we expect to see names like Bill Clinton and Bill Gates on that list. But Donald Trump has also been photographed with Jeffrey Epstein. So it is also possible that Donald Trump's name could be on that list.
Hey, Joe, this is James in Deltona. If Trump's name was on that list, that's one thing they would have already leaked out long time ago.
Yeah, that you're probably not wrong about that. If Trump's name was on that list, I firmly believe, and again, I'll believe it when I see it. If this list ever makes it to the light of day, because you'll recall that Senator Marsha Blackburn, the Republican rather from Tennessee, tried to get the flight logs made public, but Democrat Senator Dick Durbin rejected the ability for her to do so. So you've got a powerful United States senator saying, no, we're not going to release the flight logs. But this judge says that all these names have been in a lawsuit. They've all been involved in this suit that deals with Ghislaine Maxwell. And in the lawsuit, they've all been known as John Does and Jane Does. The victims and the perpetrators have all been known as John and Jane Does. So this would be the first time that their names would be revealed. So not only would it release the names of the perpetrators, but it would potentially release the names of the victims as well. To that end, I don't know. I feel kind of bad. I feel like releasing the victims' names is inappropriate. I mean, don't we have protections for sexual assault victims? I mean, most of these are now going to be women, and they're probably in their 30s and 40s, but many of them were underage and were part of a sophisticated, high-dollar sex trafficking organization from Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. So I don't like the idea of the victims' names being published, but I'm A-OK with the perpetrators' names being published, if in fact they are perpetrators. Speaking about Donald Trump, now this is interesting. So Donald Trump hired an investigator to look into claims of voter fraud in the 2020 election. Oh, am I going to bring this up? Am I going to bring up whether or not the 2020 election was stolen? I could just avoid this altogether. I could just not bring it up. I could pretend like this isn't happening. I could just look the other way. Dang it, no, I'm going to bring it up. All right, so Donald Trump hired a software engineer to investigate claims of voter fraud in the 2020 election. A guy named Ken Block. And Ken Block has revealed that every single instance, every single claim, and he said his team looked at 15 or so claims, every single claim made by Donald Trump about stolen elections, Ken Block and his team were able to prove false. And this is when I go back to conspiracy theories and the such. And there just aren't enough people to keep secrets like this. So he was hired for the express purpose of looking for voter fraud for the campaign. And he didn't find any. Well, in his words, we didn't find enough fraud to have impacted the result of any election in any of the swing states that we looked at. The campaign asked him to look into various voter fraud claims others were making. He said every one of those they looked at, they were able to prove, not unable to substantiate, but they were able to prove that they were false. This guy, Ken Block, was subpoenaed by special counsel Jack Smith and Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis. Both, as you know, are prosecuting Trump over his efforts to subvert the election, with Willis's case being confined to Georgia. He says, in both of these legal matters, I was called as a fact witness. I was subpoenaed for all of my communication in any form with the Trump campaign in both of those legal matters. That's been so far the extent of involvement with both of these investigations and now legal actions, he says. We'll see what developments from this point forward, but so far, he says, I have not had to appear in front of a grand jury personally. It's just all about the materials that I created that have been before a grand jury. So his documentation has been before a grand jury. I don't know why the diehard Trump loyalists, those who truly idolize Donald Trump, those who worship at the altar of Donald Trump, those I don't know why you wouldn't take the word of a man hired by Donald Trump. Everybody that's been associated with Donald Trump that tried to claim in one form or another that the election was stolen has been proven wrong. Many of them have had to pay for it with their careers and with hundreds of millions of dollars. Rudy Giuliani. Just because Donald Trump says something doesn't make it true. And I'm reminded of something that Eric Erickson said earlier today. Eric Erickson was today talking about Joe Biden and how Joe Biden in his demented state may well believe that his house burned down in that fire story he talks about all the time. He may well believe that his son, Beau Biden, actually died in Iraq. I firmly believe that Bill Clinton had absolutely convinced himself that he did not have sex with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I believe that people can become self-delusional, that they buy into their own hype. They live in a bubble. They buy into their own hype. They believe everything that their mind tells them. And I have no doubt whatsoever that Donald Trump fully believes the election was stolen from him. I'm certain he believes that. I'm also certain that there's no evidence to support it. Gossip, rumors, and hearsay. But I go back to Occam's razor. If you have two sets of facts, two different outcomes, the simplest explanation is the truth. That's Occam's razor. I prefer Occam's toothbrush, but Occam's razor is what it is. If there are two explanations, the simplest of the two is going to be the one that's true. So what's more likely? That through a series of sophisticated manipulations, Democrats stole an election, or that Donald Trump lost the election? It was a close one. It was close. He almost won. No doubt he almost won. It was close. 844-580-WDBO. You can hit me up in the open mic and the WDBO app. Your thoughts on this investigator. It's not my claim. I'm not the one saying it. I'm just the one believing when people say that they were hired by Donald Trump to find fraud and no fraud was found. Don't you believe that if this guy found fraud, he would be championing it from the highest mountaintop? He would be the hero to the Trump world. But he didn't find any evidence of fraud. 844-580-WDBO or use the open mic and the WDBO app.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Now, from the Bogan Munz & Munz WDBO Traffic Center. Auto accident? Choose Bogan Munz & Munz.
Looking at this accident right now on the cameras. It's on the 417 southbound at the 1792 in Seminole County in the Sanford area. They've got the left lane blocked and part of the right lane blocked. That has traffic slowed way down if you're heading out of the Sanford area and then through Lake Mary on your way southbound on the 417. Heading through downtown, it's just the same. Bumper to bumper action here from Parr onto the 408 and even further past the 408 till about OBT. Then from 528, looks like now Sand Lake to 528 and then past that as you make your way into Champions Gate. So it's a rough ride for you right now on I-4 westbound as well. This report sponsored by Pearl's Specialties Olives in the sunny yellow jar. Pearl's Specialties Olives are bursting with Mediterranean flavor. Rock your recipes and snacks with Pearl's Specialties Olives. For quality you can trust, look for the sunny yellow package at your local Walmart. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
Now the three.
The Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl kicks off tonight in Texas. The University of Texas San Antonio Roadrunners will take on the Marshall Thundering Herd. The game kicks off tonight from Toyota Stadium in Frisco at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Two.
A measure signed into law Monday by Texas Governor Greg Abbott makes illegal entry or re-entry into Texas a state crime with penalties ranging from 180 days to 20 years in prison. The legislation mirrors the federal law that makes illegal entry at the U.S. border a misdemeanor and illegal re-entry a felony. The law will go into effect in March of 2024.
One.
Hundreds of thousands of people are without power across New England. The region was hit with high winds and a deluge of rain Monday night, knocking down trees and power lines and killing at least 4 people. Flooding remains a concern today as transit systems face numerous delays.
Okay, so inside information, that commercial kills me. I just can't get through it, and I don't know why. It does it to me every single time. It's a mental block.
We've all got those things, those words or those sentences. Where
I don't know what it is.
It's that yellow label.
Yeah, it's the yellow label. It's Pearl's Specialties Olives. Pearl's Specialties Olives, not any singular in there, all plural. Plural Pearl's Specialties Olives, bursting with Mediterranean flavor.
Flavors.
Yeah, and it just says flavor. Rock your recipes and snacks with Pearl's Specialties Olives. Something about it. It's a mental block with me. I don't know why I have trouble with that, but every single time. It's not like Peter Piper picked a pickled peppers. I could do that. Ah, Frank, that is so funny. One day you'll get through all of it. Nice. Man, you got to write a dad joke book there, Frank. You've got a lot of these puns that are just right there. As long as y'all forgive me for being human, I'm fine.
Oh, always, Paul. Elizabeth, yes. According to Joe's story, the dog did survive. So that's exciting. That's good.
Yeah, apparently they took him to the groomer. They took him, got him all cleaned up.
Oh, yeah.
Checked him out with the vet. So probably living his best dog life right now.
Frank has the rest of his life planned out, so he's fine. He's got everything. If there's anyone that needs to mirror their life after something, Frank has a schedule. I love it.
I love it. Yep. Marie, let me tell you that when it comes to words and being on the air for 40 years, you tend to start talking like you would on the street or talking to a friend. And a lot of times it's not completely correct English. It's just something that you do, like slang and talk. My wife is a school teacher, and she used to listen to my morning show, and just like she's grading me. I would have had red marks all over the paper. Why did you say this? Why did you say that? It's not even correct English. You're not speaking properly, blah, 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 blah. And I'd say, you know what? I'm just relating. I'm not trying to be, excuse me, may I have some Grey Poupon? I'm not going to be doing that kind of stuff. So I just tend to just talk. And a lot of times I will misspeak. I will say words that I think somebody else called me on it on the air one time here in the chat room. And I said, you're right. I said the wrong word. But, oh well, as long as you understand me and we're communicating and I'm relatable is a big deal. Even I know I'm talking too much today, so I'm going to shut up now.
That's not true. My husband's the talker in our relationship, and he tends to do that. He'll be like, "Sorry, I'm talking a lot." And I'm like, Good. I like being around talkers because, believe it or not, I'm not much of a talker. I'm a listener, so I'd rather be around talkers.
Join the conversation now by using the open mic in the WDBO app. Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's News and Talk, WDBO.
Yeah, if you want to see the video of this heartless POS that put a 16-year-old Shih Tzu into a garbage bag and lobbed it into a dumpster. The dog is okay. The dog is going to live. I say live. He's 16 years old and blind and I mean, is a frail old dog anyway. But if you want to see the video of this guy doing it, it is in the WDW app. Just look for this story. If you're just joining us, maybe you've just hopped into the car. Thank you. Welcome. Oh, my goodness. We're so glad you're here. We've been waiting for you to arrive. And we're talking about an investigator hired by Donald Trump to prove that he lost the 2020 election by thievery, that it was stolen from him. And every allegation that he encountered, he was able to prove that they were false.
Actually, Joe, he did find fraud. He said it yourself. He found fraud, but not enough alter the outcome of the election. I like how we just were okay with a little bit of fraud, you know? Like, just a little bit of dog poop in brownies isn't bad. It's just a little bit of poop.
Yeah. So, okay, here's a thought. Keep in mind that a little bit of fraud works both ways. That we had several residents in the villages who have been arrested and convicted of voter fraud, voting for Donald Trump twice. We've had electors in Texas and some other state that escapes me at the moment that have pleaded guilty to election fraud by voting for Donald Trump as electors when they were to vote for Joe Biden. So the little bit of election fraud works both ways. Nevada, thank you very much. Nevada was the other state.
Hey, Joe, you said this guy was hired to investigate fraud. He wasn't given a bonus to actually find it. He was just hired to investigate it. So you never know who he was working for. He might have been a plant for the other side.
That's a stretch.
Joe, this guy investigating the fraud, quote unquote, hired by Donald Trump. You never know. Maybe someone could have got a hold of him and threatened his family that if he did show what he found, bad things would happen.
Can you guys hear yourselves?
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
What? How? What?
Donald Trump could have had the election stolen, but not stolen in the way that everybody is picturing or using the defined word. You know, with poor support from his Republican friends or from the GOP, or an over push just to get Trump out, anybody but Trump, it can be stolen by effort, not thievery.
Yeah, that's called electioneering. That's called campaigning. Stolen by effort, not thievery, is called an election.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Now, from the Bogan Muns and Muns WDBO Traffic Center. Auto accident, choose Bogan Muns and Muns.
Well, we've got a multi-vehicle crash, I-4 westbound at the 408 eastbound ramp, right in the middle of downtown. The right lane of that ramp is blocked, causing a little bit of delays now coming from just about par into downtown. Also have that crash 417 southbound at the 1792 in Sanford, and they still have the left lane closed. Traffic getting by on the right lane and part of that right shoulder. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
Good evening, 6:01 here at WDBO. Our top story, while the U.S. pressures Israel to minimize civilian casualties in Gaza, the State Department says its top priority is freeing hostages held there.
The U.S. estimates Hamas is still holding 8 American hostages after that October terror attack, and the U.S. says the Secretary of State's working every day to free them.
Every phone call he's had with leaders in the region, it is always one of the first things he mentions, and that's true not just for him, but for others in the government.
State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller saying the U.S. is working through Qatar and other allies who then talk with Hamas negotiators. Andy Field, ABC News.
Well, how would you feel about drinking cleaned toilet water? California's water board has voted to allow wastewater to be cleaned and then sent right back to the tap for drinking water for the state's 40 million residents. Only one other state allows it. ABC's Alex Stone.
The item is adopted.
In a unanimous vote, California water regulators giving the thumbs up to allowing water agencies in their state to make drinking water out of wastewater, what's become known as toilet to tap, until now only approved in Colorado. Board members said realistically, most Americans are already drinking cleaned wastewater and don't realize it.
And anyone out there on the Mississippi River.
Supporters claim purified wastewater is actually cleaner than what comes out of most wells, lakes, and rivers. Alex Stone, ABC News.
6:02 here at WDBO.
So I guess to piggyback off of our hating people who hate dogs today, there was a story out about Rex Ryan. He's a former NFL head coach who him and his wife were planning on going on a vacation. But I think someone made mention earlier of the dog illness that's going around. Well, they were going to bring their dogs with them, but one of their dogs was exhibiting a cough, like a new cough. So the airline said, nope, sorry, you can't bring your dogs. You'll have to do something with their dogs. Well, his wife decided to bring the dogs home. Rex Ryan got on the plane to Cancun. He left his wife to take care of the dogs, to take the dogs back to the house, as he hopped on the plane to go to Cancun.
Okay, do these people know that boarding places exist? Like, you can pay people to watch your dog.
Right.
Or even people, if you don't want to do that because of the cough, there are people who will come to your house and watch the dog in their own house. Those people exist. Why are people acting like it's an all or nothing scenario here?
And yeah, and he didn't even, from what I'm reading, they didn't even try and like reschedule his wife's flight or anything like that for her to come. But he just went by himself to Cancun instead. He said, you know what? Never mind. I'm just going to Cancun. See you later. Take care of the dogs.
If that was my husband, he might not be married when he got home.
He might be coming home solo anyways, right?
Yeah. That's right. Coming home to an empty house, buddy. Me and the dogs will be gone. Bye.
I mean, I've never liked Rex Ryan in the first place. He's always come off so pompous and just like a jerk. But now I don't like him even more.
Yeah. Holy moly. What a jerkhead.
Feel more humid, and we can't rule out a sprinkle Saturday, and there's a slight chance for rain Sunday, which is Christmas Eve, mid-70s, again feeling more humid. The highest rain chance will be Sunday night, Christmas Eve into Monday, Christmas Day, with scattered rain possible. Doesn't look like a washout, in 76 degrees. From Channel 9 Eyewitness News, I'm meteorologist George Waldenberger.
Now, from the Bogan Munz & Munz WDBO Traffic Center. Auto accident? Choose Bogan Munz & Munz.
Got a multi-vehicle crash, I-4 westbound at the 408 eastbound ramp. The right lane is blocked on that ramp, tying traffic up through downtown now on I-4 westbound. It continues that way till about Cayley. Got a crash on the 417 southbound at the 1792. That one also still blocking the left lane. I-4 eastbound was completely shut down early this morning. You could download the WDBO app and get instant notifications on your phone whenever there is a red alert in your area. WDBO, keeping you safe and informed. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Talk and discussion on the latest breaking national news.
Crude oil prices continue to fall.
Local news.
You're not going to have Disney have its own government in Central Florida.
And stories that matter to you. Use the open mic in the WDBO app and let your voice be heard on the Joe Kelley Show.
Right, if you're just joining us, we've been talking about this report. So Donald Trump had hired a guy named Ken Block. And Ken Block was hired for one purpose and one purpose only. That was to investigate reports of fraud with the 2020 election. And he says that he was not able to find any. More specifically, he said that, I'm going to quote him. He says, in my job looking for voter fraud for the campaign, we didn't find any. Then he changed. He says, we didn't find enough fraud to have impacted the result of any election in any of the swing states that we looked at. And so I got this open. I was going to move on, but I got this open mic and I want to address this.
Hey, Joe, wouldn't you count election interference the fact that we didn't get the information about Junior's laptop until after the election, that they held that back? The media was on the other side, totally, still are. Would that not have changed things? Is that not election interference? Anyway, Joe, fantastic job. Love listening to you.
Thank you, man.
Keep it up.
Listen, now we're talking. Now that is a completely different issue than having the election stolen. Having the election information leading into the actual election, the actual voting, having it manipulated by getting that document signed by all those heads of our intelligence agencies saying that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. You're onto something there. I don't even remotely disagree with you there. But that's not the same thing as having an election stolen. I mean, that is certainly abuse of the electorate, abuse of the media, fraudulent use of the media. I mean, I would like to say that somehow there's a crime there. Remarkably, nobody's even lost a job over that. Nobody in the media has even lost a job over that. None of those heads of intelligence have even had their intelligence revoked from them. Their intelligence clearances. Nothing has happened. But yes, you make the best point. That is the point. That is the only point that I would consider. I don't believe that election night for people who say, and here, I'll take a listen.
Really, Joe? 5 million votes after midnight for Biden on election night? And you said the election's not stolen? Give me a break. You're a traitor.
Yeah, I'm a traitor. I know your feelings are hurt, and I know you're upset, and I get that. And you feel that you've been wronged, and you have surrounded yourself with other people who feel the same way as you. And so it is impossible to consider for you that Donald Trump could have just lost the election. That Donald Trump, and this is something that I have stated since day one, that Joe Biden didn't win the election. Donald Trump lost it. Biden didn't even campaign, for Pete's sake. Nobody was out there waving a banner for Joe Biden. Nobody was out there putting on bumper stickers for Joe Biden. Nobody was showing up at Biden rallies. Nobody was. Joe Biden did not win the election. To that, I will agree. But Donald Trump lost it. He lost the election for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is he alienated half of America. Half of America hates Donald Trump. To this day, half of America hates Donald Trump. But Donald Trump, and you talk about the votes that came in after midnight, keep in mind that Donald Trump also rejected the notion of voting absentee. Donald Trump rejected the notion of ballot harvesting, which is a questionable process, but it is legal in several states. something that the Democrats have mastered, something that Ron DeSantis says that he would absolutely do in every state where it's legal. You have to fight fire with fire. You got to play with the tools you have available to you. And if ballot harvesting is one of those tools, you got to use that tool. Otherwise, you will continue to lose elections. And I wish there was a way to go back and eliminate the so-called October surprise. Of the Biden laptop being proven to be Russian disinformation, when we know full well it's not Russian disinformation. We knew it then, we know it now. And I'd be willing to bet that if the American people knew beyond any shadow of a doubt that that laptop was, in fact, Hunter Biden's, I'd be willing to bet that that would have been enough to tip the scales in Donald Trump's direction, and Donald Trump could have won the election. I will absolutely wholeheartedly concede that. But how do you rewind the tape and make that not happen? You can't. Other than shaming those intelligence directors who signed that document, saying that it was going to be Russian disinformation, other than having an investigation in the Congress into that laptop, its origins, its ownership, everything that is on it, and any connections it has to Joe Biden. You can't rewind the tape. You can't go back in the past and make it not happen. I agree with you. It is frustrating, and it probably tipped the balance of the election. Some of you may be old enough to remember. I'm just barely old enough. I was probably a very tiny child when this happened. But in the 11th hour, if you will, during George W. Bush's race for the White House, it was suddenly revealed that 30 years before, he had a drunk driving arrest. And that just suddenly got out there in the days leading up to the election. And clearly the left thought that that was going to be enough to sway the American electorate into not voting for George W. Bush. He owned up to it. George W. Bush is well known to have been a recovering alcoholic. It's not terribly unlike Donald Trump when he was accused of making that Access Hollywood video by assaulting women. I mean, literally the day I found out about the video, Donald Trump had already gone public, owning up to it and apologizing for it. That actually was one of the first things that really impressed me with Donald Trump. I was like, wow, that was a terrible thing you said on that Access Hollywood tape, but that you came out instantly without even deliberating it for. I mean, I think of Ted Kennedy and how long Mary Jo Kopechne lay dead underwater before he finally went public with a series of lies about how she died. I'm going way back now, and I was not around for that. I'd like to point out. I might have been around for the George W. thing. I was not around for the Ted Kennedy thing. But I've read my history. I was impressed with Donald Trump for coming forward so quickly on that. And I mean, truly, I love the news. I get excited about news. News is exciting to me. Sharing news and telling news stories is exciting to me. I love to talk on the radio and tell you about the news. I love to write news. I love to discuss news. I love to read the news. I love news. I don't care if it's left news or right news, if it's conservative or I love news. And so I got excited when I saw, oh my gosh, This story, Donald Trump, this video with Access Hollywood has come public, and suddenly there's this video out there now, and he says, grab him by the thing, and it's terrible what he said, and it's just awful. And before I could get to the radio station or online or anything else like that, I saw, oh my gosh, I just found out about the tape and Donald Trump has already gone public with it. Holy smokes. I don't think I'd ever seen damage control act that fast, that decisively as Donald Trump did with that. And I think that stemmed, a lot of people predicted his demise. Well, people have been predicting Donald Trump's demise since he came down the escalator. And Donald Trump said it early on in the first campaign, and he was right.
I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?
Yeah.
It's like incredible.
He knew. He knows his people. He definitely knows his people. No doubt about that. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. Short of going back and rewinding time, I don't know how we go back and change the misinformation and disinformation that came out ahead of the last presidential election. But there's no evidence, it's certainly not significant evidence, and not enough evidence to have swayed the election one way or the other, that the election was stolen from Donald Trump. Even Donald Trump's own investigator says so.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Now, from the Bogan Munz & Munz WDBO Traffic Center. Auto accident? Choose Bogan Munz & Munz.
Well, we are seeing some relief, just not into downtown right now on I-4 westbound. Traffic getting a little bit more heavy as you make your way after Parr down into downtown and onto the 408 eastbound. They have cleared up that wreck near the 528, but traffic still bunched up from the Turnpike all the way down to 535, and then again from 192 into Champions Gate. We also have a multi-vehicle crash I-4 westbound. It's at the 408 eastbound ramp, but they have cleared that out to where there's just a little bit of bunching up there on that ramp as you make your way to the 408 eastbound. And then a crash 417 southbound at the 1792 in Sanford. As we know, I-4 eastbound this morning was completely shut down. If you don't want to miss anything like that and you're on the roadway, download the WDBO app, get instant notifications on your phone whenever there is a red alert in your area. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
The Philadelphia Eagles losing streak continues after they fell to the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football. Seattle scored with less than a minute left to come away with a 20-17 win. The Eagles have now lost 3 in a row and sit second in the NFC East at 10-4. The Teamsters have authorized a nationwide strike against Anheuser-Busch. Union leaders announced over the weekend that its members will strike when the current contract expires in late February if the company fails to come to the negotiating table before then. Increased wages, job protection, and retirement benefits are a few of the issues still up for discussion. The United Nations Security Council is delaying a vote regarding the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Today, the council met to vote on a resolution that called for an immediate ceasefire and to scale up humanitarian aid in the region. However, after intense negotiations, the vote was postponed and is now expected to take place tomorrow.
In-depth segments on topics that matter to Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and all of Central Florida. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
I love your show every night. You're doing great, bud.
All right, so Tommy in the comment section says that I'm making misstatements. And I said, what are my misstatements? And he writes, saying that there wasn't enough evidence backing the claim that the election was stolen. There isn't a number for sure, but as I said in an earlier comment, 15% of people polled said they would have voted for Biden if they had known about Hunter's laptop and the corruption that spelled out about Hunter and Joe. I acknowledged that. I don't know what misstatement I made. I absolutely acknowledge that, but there is absolutely nothing that you can do about that. You cannot go back in time. You cannot outsmart the deviousness of the Democrats and the intelligence community in cohorts with one another, colluding with one another to subvert the information about whose laptop it was and what was on it. You can't roll back the tape. You can't go back in time. They manipulated the public perception of their candidate, Joe Biden. Absolutely so. Not the same as a stolen election. I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree with you that the Democrats played dirty. Biden campaign played dirty. I mean, go back to Hillary Clinton. I mean, she was, getting questions for the debate from CNN. The media and the Democrats play dirty. And they played dirty ahead of the 2020 election. Absolutely no doubt. I wholeheartedly agree with every Trump supporter on that one. You are so absolutely right. And what are you going to do about it? There's nothing that can be done about it. Short of having an investigation, which the House Oversight Committee is looking into an impeachment of Joe Biden, which, as impeachment goes, the last three that we have had have only empowered the president further. America loves victims. 844-580-WDBO or hit me up in the open mic in the WDBO app. I don't know what the misstatements are. There are no misstatements there. I completely agree with you about the deceptions leading into the 2020 election. Al is joining us in Sanford. You're on the Joe Kelley Show. Hi, Al. How are you?
Good. And I know there's no way you can change things that's happened now, but I was just wondering why they would not let them investigate the machines or any of the fraud that at the time of the election, they would not let them, even through Congress, told them to check the machines and they wouldn't let them.
Now, what makes you think the machines weren't investigated? What makes you think the machines weren't checked?
Just from what we've heard when it all happened, that they wouldn't let them go in and check the machines.
Yeah, none of that is true. So again, people get into an echo chamber and they hear what they want to hear and they believe what they want to believe. And you hear it over and over again to the point at which you believe it. Keep in mind that the massive shakeup at Fox News had 100% to do with Fox News reporting that the manufacturer of the voting machines cheated and was involved in cheating and was involved in throwing an election. And Fox News lost in court, and they lost hundreds of millions of dollars. And Tucker Carlson's departure from Fox News was in large part, if not singularly, because of that. Because the voting machine manufacturer sued, and that would have been the perfect opportunity for Fox News or anybody else to step up, because the truth shall set you free. If there was actual election fraud with regards to the voting machines, Fox News would not have lost that lawsuit. Fox News has some of the most powerful attorneys on the face of the planet. It's not like they had bad legal representation. They had some of the best investigators on the face of the planet. It's not like they had bad investigators. They just didn't have the facts on their side. And the voting machine manufacturer did. The voting machine manufacturer was able to sue Fox News, sue Rudy Giuliani, sue a number of other organizations, and has won in every single one of their cases because nobody has been able to prove that the voting machine manufacturer cheated, manipulated, partnered with Democrats, or anything else like that. I'm afraid you've just been getting bad news and bad information. And I don't mean bad news as in, oh, that's a bummer to hear that, but bad news as in it's not accurate or it's fake news. And I know that's not what you want to hear. We all want to hear what we want to hear. And sometimes we just close our minds and close our ears and we stay in our silos, we stay in our echo chambers. We stay in that same, Facebook group, we stay in that same chat thread where everybody says the same things that I think and feel and believe. Sometimes you got to step outside of the silo. Sometimes you got to step outside and check to make sure that the sky is still blue. Check other sources. You got to be smarter than just listening to all of your same sources. When I say, where did you get that information? Oh, I heard that. That's you got to try harder. You've got to be better. 844-580-WDBO.
This is WDBO.
WDBO.
107.3 FM and AM 580. Orlando's news and talk.
Good evening, 6:30 here at WDBO. Our top story: an international coalition has been stood up to combat terror threats to commercial ships in the Red Sea.
Several nations, some named publicly and others not, are participating in Operation Prosperity Guardian to increase patrols and protection for commercial vessels facing missile and drone attacks from Houthi militants based in Yemen.
From the beginning, we said that this is an international challenge. It requires collective and international action.
National Security Council spokesman John Kirby says the operation is intended to send a message to Houthis backed by Iran that the attacks must stop. Separately, the Biden administration is imposing new sanctions on entities and individuals connected to Iran's production of drones. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Well, elephants are dying in one of Africa's largest national parks.
It's being described as a crisis for elephants and other animals by the International Fund for Animal Welfare, with at least 100 elephants dead in Zimbabwe's Wangi National Park in recent weeks because of drought, something wildlife authorities and conservation groups blame on climate change and the El Niño weather phenomenon. Authorities warn that more could die as forecasts suggest a scarcity of rain and rising heat in parts of the southern African nation, including the national park, which is its largest and a sanctuary for over 100 mammals and 400 bird species. Lillian Wu, Fox News.
And we're following some breaking news. The Colorado Supreme Court has removed former President Donald Trump from the state's 2024 presidential ballot, ruling that he is ineligible as a candidate because of the 14th Amendment's insurrection ban. The ruling was 4-3 and will be placed on hold pending an appeal until January 4th of 2024. Trump is expected to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. 6:32 here at WDBO. Yeah, Frank, you would think that. I'm kind of curious how they came to that. Oh my gosh, this is the 4th spam call I've gotten in 20 minutes. Holy guacamole. Anyways, I'll be kind of curious how they came to that decision when he hasn't been found guilty of insurrection yet. Or if, I should say, yet/if, I don't know. Right, or charged on, right. That's weird. It's a weird decision in my opinion. Listen, I love guacamole and I love spam, so I wouldn't be against trying them together, okay?
Breaking news will do that, Josh.
Fried teriyaki spam. Listen, I went to Hawaii for my honeymoon a year after my wedding because of COVID. And there was many, many stunning things about it, but the spam McDonald's breakfast there is something I can't stop thinking about. I think about it every other day. And why do we not do spam McDonald's breakfasts here in the States? So my husband said the other day he would make me spam and eggs for breakfast one of these days, and he hasn't done it yet. I might demand that as part of my Christmas present because that or corned beef hash, oh my gosh. So good. Now I'm hungry. Oh boy.
Chilly night, dry weather, pretty quiet in upper 40s by morning. Tomorrow's a little warmer and we have more cloud cover, 69 degrees. Then low 50s Thursday morning, not as cold. 70 Thursday afternoon and partly cloudy. 72 on Friday, 73 on Saturday. It starts to feel more humid and we can't rule out a sprinkle Saturday. And there's a slight chance for rain Sunday, which is Christmas Eve, mid 70s, again feeling more humid. The highest rain chance will be Sunday night, Christmas Eve into Monday, Christmas Day, with scattered rain possible. Doesn't look like a washout in 76 degrees. From Channel 9 Eyewitness News, I'm meteorologist George Waldenberger.
Now, from the Bogan Munz & Munz WDBO Traffic Center. Auto accident? Choose Bogan Munz & Munz.
Got a brand new crash that just popped up here, 192 eastbound at Avalon Road. They've got a right lane closed there, so things are backing up. Let's see. It's the Earl Brunson Highway. This is between US 27 and 429. So right in that area, which is really busy about now, you're going to find some brake lights around Avalon Road. We also have a crash 417 southbound at the 1792 with the left lane closed. This report sponsored by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Drive into any Central Florida Valvoline Instant Oil Change where their certified technicians are happy to help you get back on the road in no time. Never leave your car and no appointment needed. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. News, weather, traffic, all the things you want on your drive home. Plus, Joe Kelley being, well, Joe Kelley. Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's News and Talk, WDBO. Breaking news alert.
Breaking news alert.
From WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's News and Talk.
Yeah, this is why you want to make sure that you download the WDBO app and subscribe to our app notifications, our news, weather, and traffic notifications, as you are the first to know that the Colorado Supreme Court has effectively just ended the Trump campaign. All this discussion we've had tonight about Donald Trump and the 2020 election, put that aside because the Colorado Supreme Court has just ruled that Donald Trump is ineligible from appearing on the ballot because of what they call the January 6th insurrection. We go now live to ABC News for their update, and this is in a major swing state, Colorado.
Thank you. We turn now to the breaking news involving former President Donald Trump. The state Supreme Court in Colorado at this hour ruling that Trump cannot be on that state's primary ballot because of the role they believe he played on January 6th. So tonight, what, if anything, can Donald Trump do about it? Let's get right to ABC's Mola Lengi, who is live in Colorado tonight with late reporting. Mola?
Well, David, this is a first of its kind ruling. The Colorado Supreme Court determining that former President Donald Trump is ineligible to be on Colorado's Republican primary ballot next year because of his efforts to overturn that 2020 election. The court accepted the argument that Trump engaged in insurrection in violation of the 14th Amendment. Lawsuits like this have come before courts in 7 states. But this is the first time that President Trump has been deemed ineligible for office. But as you can imagine, David, this is not the final word. The Trump campaign calling this ruling deeply undemocratic tonight, adding that they will swiftly appeal this ruling to the United States Supreme Court, David.
It is a significant and historic ruling, and the Trump campaign at this hour saying they will, in fact, appeal it. Mola Lengi with late reporting.
Yeah, ultimately, this is going to be a long, drawn-out process, and it is another layer for this presidential campaign. I want to switch briefly here over to Brett Baer and Fox News and to get their reporting on this. And give me 2 seconds to get this pulled up for you.
Confidence that the Supreme Court will quickly rule in our favor and finally put an end to these un-American lawsuits. Again, that's from the Trump campaign spokesperson. And obviously, we'll follow this as it heads up. We are talking about the polls tonight as this breaking news comes down. Let's discuss the polls and this breaking news with pollsters Lee Carter and Douglas Schoen. Good evening, Lee. Let me just get your reaction to what we just heard, the decision and the reaction to it.
Well, I think we're going to see a lot of backlash as a result of this. I think Donald Trump supporters are going to be up in arms about this. And we know that, as much as the Democrats are talking about democracy being on the ballot, 78% of Americans believe that democracy is on the ballot. And it's not just Democrats. Republicans are concerned that they're not going to be able to be represented, that they're not going to be able to be heard, that they're going to be silenced. And so this is going to be something I think that is going to really energize Republicans to get more involved here. Now, on the other hand, I think Democrats are going to look at this as a victory. So again, we're going to see that Republicans are from Mars, Democrats are from Venus reaction is going to be coming out of this.
Yeah, there's a lot of controversy around how it's based, Doug, and that is on the 14th Amendment, Section 3, which says no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same. There are specific words here that are in question, but your reaction and whether that helps or hurts Democrats broadly.
Well, this is one Democrat who believes this is going to hurt Democrats and certainly hurt democracy. Donald Trump has not been convicted of anything, and to kick him off the ballot preemptively is, to me, anti-democratic and against the interests of the Democratic Party. Donald Trump has a lot of negatives, but to throw him off the ballot based on allegations which have not been fully vetted in a court of law with appeals is, to me, contrary to everything our country stands for. And I'm a Biden supporter. I would vote for Joe Biden tomorrow, but I would tell Joe Biden that he should press the Supreme Court to get Donald Trump back on the Colorado ballot indeed on every ballot. Brad.
There's an analysis there from Fox News. You can join us with your thoughts now at 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app and give us your take on that. Again, if you're just joining us, the Colorado Supreme Court has barred Donald Trump from the state ballot in the primary. That's the primary, by the way. Not necessarily the general election, but I wouldn't rule out their efforts to bar him from the general election. And I can't help but to think that the Democrats have made another calculated mistake when it comes to Donald Trump. And that is, with every effort that they make to ruin Donald Trump, to hobble Donald Trump, to marginalize Donald Trump, to eliminate Donald Trump, all they're doing is empowering Donald Trump's supporters. I mean, I can only imagine in Colorado right now that Republican supporters and Donald Trump supporters, Republican voters, are going bat bonkers right now in Colorado. They're having to put down their doobies and their edibles and process the information. They're going to have to sober up from their marijuana highs and figure out what the next steps are in Colorado. But don't think for a moment that this is not going to radicalize some people. I mean, you have heard here on this show, the Joe Kelley Show, the statistics of people warning of a coming civil war. People who say that they're willing to take up arms in the United States. The last thing I want to do is talk about violence when it comes to politics, political violence. But you hear how passionate, if at times misguided, passionate the Donald Trump supporters are. And I don't want to paint with such a broad brush that they're all going to start, storming the castle with torches and pitchforks. But some are going to start storming the castle with torches and pitchforks. I have no doubt about that. 844-580-WDBO or hit me up in the open mic in the WDBO app. You can check out the Joe Kelley Show podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify. You can get it on Amazon Podcasts, anywhere you get podcasts, including the WDBO app. Check it out.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Now, from the Bogan Munz & Munz WDBO Traffic Center. Auto accident? Choose Bogan Munz & Munz.
Got another crash that just popped up on the screen here. I'm looking for it right now. Looks like it's at Princeton. Hold on a second. I'll get it for you because it just came up here. Silver Star Road or Princeton Street westbound at Silkwood Circle. They got a right lane blocked on the westbound side. And so they also have a crash I-4 eastbound before Maitland Boulevard. That has the right lane blocked. Traffic looking a little bit better into downtown right now. We've alleviated some of that pain by clearing that crash I-4 westbound at the 408. So just a minor tap of the brakes there. This report sponsored by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Drive into any Central Florida Valvoline Instant Oil Change where their certified technicians are happy to help you get back on the road in no time. Never leave your car and no appointment needed. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
Americans are less satisfied with nearly every major part of the healthcare system. That's according to a recent analysis from Gallup, which found that satisfaction has dropped since 2010. Hospitals, drug makers, and physicians took some of the biggest hits in the survey. The global cinema box office is expected to drop in 2024 after a post-pandemic recovery. Box office research firm Gower Street Analytics attributes that to the recent writers and actors strike. The projection puts this year's total 20% below the average of 2017 to 2019. The last three pre-pandemic years. President Biden honored the late Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. He delivered remarks at her funeral today at the Washington National Cathedral. He said O'Connor was a pioneer who broke down barriers in the legal and political worlds as well as the nation's consciousness.
Well, that's one way to end a Tuesday.
Ugh. I'm not doing everything I have laid out.
Right? You've got to redo all of your... I'm trying to see if Trump is going to make an immediate statement. I haven't seen anything pop up on any of his stuff yet. I know he's out campaigning right now. They're still talking about how he's out in Iowa campaigning, so I'm sure he has stages of areas to make statements, so wouldn't be surprised to see that soon.
Oh, and Laurel, I wasn't trying to screw you up, but I knew we were going into the news, and the breaking news just kind of popped up onto my screen, so I wanted to make sure you saw it, and Joe, trying to get him to see it. So.
Yeah, no worries. Appreciate it. Yeah, I saw it pop up in my screen too, so it was awesome.
Good. I saw it in passing real quick. It just kind of popped up, and it said, Colorado Supreme Court bans Trump or something from the ballot. I went, holy crud. So that's when I threw that up. I didn't even get the whole story.
Right.
I just knew there was breaking news out of Colorado.
Josh, you and another caller actually asked that same question, if he's eligible for write-in. I'm not finding anything that bars him from being a write-in candidate at this point. That's a very big blow, not having your name on the ballot itself. It's huge when it comes
it's
to
the primary, though, too.
Yeah, still just the primary. But I can only imagine that would roll over into a general election if it were somehow upheld. So,
yeah, if it were somehow upheld.
It'll be interesting to see when that goes, because it will go straight to the Supreme Court. From what I read, it will have to delay until the 4th. And I can imagine that there will be an immediate appeal to the Supreme Court on that. So,
and let's face it, Trump appointed most of the Supreme Court, so it should be.
Well, there you go, and that's going to
be overturned. Let the voters decide, type of thing.
Yep. But this is definitely the first step. I know that they're, like we were talking a little bit about, he hasn't been convicted of anything and things like that. This is really going to be the thing that pushes it to the Supreme Court at this point. Nothing else has reached to that level yet, I don't believe. So.
Looks like I picked the wrong night to quit sniffing glue.
No, you're going to miss that glue. Wood glue, Elmer's glue.
What if...
Talk local issues and events with Joe Kelley. Use the open mic in the WDBO app and let Joe know what interests you. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
All right, if you're just joining us here, we are following breaking news as the Colorado Supreme Court has now ruled Donald Trump ineligible for the ballot. The primary balloting Colorado for his role in the events of January 6th. You can leave us an open mic, use that in the WDBO app, or hit us up at 844-580-WDBO.
The Colorado Supreme Court is just a liberal court. The United States Supreme Court will overturn that decision fast.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think you're absolutely right about that. Let's go to Mike and Harmony. Mike, you're on the Joe Kelley Show. How are you, sir?
Hey, Joe, long time no talk to.
I appreciate you calling.
Yeah, listen, I have to agree with that open mic caller there. they're going to overturn that at the Supreme Court. Those airheads in Colorado, we don't need their votes anyway.
Well,
we normally don't win Colorado.
We don't consider to be a battleground state. And
yeah, well, I don't think in 2020 nor in 2016 he won Colorado. If he did, he won by slim margin. So, you know, listen, nobody's going to do it. You mentioned a civil war. I don't think that's going to happen. You got to, you know, a lot of people talk a lot of stuff.
A lot of people do. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. A lot of people do.
When you poke the bear, you better be careful.
That's what they say.
The bear will wake up.
Yeah. Mike, thank you, brother.
Joe.
I appreciate it. Have a good day. Drive safely. Don't forget to check out the Joe Kelley Show podcast. You'll get that wherever you get your podcast. You can look at the Joe Kelley Show Facebook page. I'm told that that's on Facebook. I cannot independently verify it, but I am told it is on Facebook. By the way, Laurel, I don't know if you know this. Do you know the difference between the Supreme Court and the regular court?
One is supreme.
Sour cream. Sour cream is the difference. The Supreme Court has sour cream, and the regular court does not.
Great.
Thought you'd like to know that. Leave it on that note. All right, coming up next, it is the third hour of the Sean Hannity Show with Rose and some guy named Lord filling in. Incidentally, next Friday, I'll be hosting the Brian Kilmeade Show if you want to tune in for that as well. I'll be off all next week except for Friday when I'm filling in for the Brian Kilmeade Show. That'll be coming up next Friday, 9 a.m. to noon here on WDBO.
Now, from the Bogan Munz & Munz WDBO Traffic Center. Auto accident? Choose Bogan Munz & Munz.
Got a crash I-4 eastbound at Maitland Boulevard. It's right there at the exit in the median. They had the right lane closed with some first responders there. They had medical crews, but they have now moved, so the right lane is back open. The police and road ranger and a couple of vehicles there in the median, so please be careful there. Also a crash on Silver Star westbound. This is west of Hiawassee at Silkwood, and a crash 192 eastbound at Avalon Road. They got the right lane closed there. This report sponsored by Wendy's Peppermint Frosty. Wendy's Peppermint Frosty is back for the holidays, so take some time to chill this year. Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's Vanilla Frosty is temporarily unavailable. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
WDBO Orlando, WOEX-FM HD2 Orlando, W297BB Orlando, powered by Talon Wealth Management.
So I'm very excited. So I got during the show, I got a text message from one of my sons. I've got twin sons, Black and Decker, and one of them texted me and said, "Dad, can you take me fishing tomorrow?" And I'm like, "What? Like, you to tomorrow? What?" First of all, it's cold. It's going to be really, really cold. And unlike him, I don't get the whole week off. Like, you know, he's out of school right now, so he gets the time off, and I don't. And so I was digging a little bit deeper. So we're going to go fishing Saturday, he tells me. We're going to go. So I'm very excited. We're going to go fishing on Saturday. And I got to make sure that my license is up to date, which I think it is. And I'll have to get some tackle, some more gear and stuff. But I'm excited to go fishing on Saturday with my son. That makes me very happy. Except it makes me stressed out because if he doesn't catch a fish, then I feel like a loser. And I don't like that feeling. And I've taken them fishing before. And if kids, like for a lot of us adults, when you go fishing, it's not about catching. It's about just chilling out and relaxing. But for kids, they want to catch things. And so I've got to make sure I take them someplace where we can actually catch things. So if anybody has any tips, PM me, DM me on where to go and when to go and what to use for bait. And if anybody wants to scuba dive down and hook fish onto the hooks for me, I would appreciate that very much. Love you guys. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Laurel. Thank you, Greg. Have a great night, and we'll see you. That sounds like real fun. Very good, Frank. Great pun to leave on. Have a good night, everybody.